A lot of people were pretty startled to hear this woman actually brought her 5- and 7-year-old daughters to witness the Cheshire home invasion case. It's the triple murder case that we've been following all week. She has basically been saying that she wanted to bring her children to court to give them a civic lessons of how the judicial system actually works. Well, a lot of people were pretty shocked because of the graphic nature of this case. And Dr. Laura Saunders is here from Hartford Hospital talking about the decision that this mother made. I can appreciate somebody's decision to take their kids to court so that they can see how the judicial system works. But boy, to pick this case, it's a triple murder. They've got graphic video, graphic pictures. Does anybody think this was a good idea to bring this 5- and 7-year-old there?
Well, I mean, obviously I can't speak to this family directly. However, it would be very, very unusual to do something like this. With the graphic details and the very gruesome nature of this crime, it could be very startling to young children and is in some ways developmentally inappropriate for them to be exposed to this type of information. What
does it do to a 5- and 7-year-old to have them be confronted with something like this, the graphic nature of it?
It's more vicarious in terms of their experience. They're not directly being exposed to it. They're getting information about it, so they're somewhat emotionally disconnected and removed from it. However, for some children, if they're more vulnerable or if they have a more anxious temperament, it could be very disconcerting for them and very upsetting for them. I don't know how these children are reacting. I haven't evaluated them. However, many young children would be very scared by this kind of information.
They're not showing the photos of the gruesome photos to anybody in the audience. The jurors are getting to see it. The reporters are getting to see it so that they can cover the story. But at what point do you start telling your kids or sharing violence, you know, in their lives? Obviously, they're going to learn that, that the world is a violent place, but at what point?
I think, for the most part, what parents want to do is really shield and protect their children. They want to hold on to their innocence for as long as possible. And I think that should be the goal of most parents, to really hold on to their innocence, hold on to that information. Yes, there can be some very difficult and painful things and very violent things that happen in our society, but we really want to protect our children from that information for as long as possible. Inevitably, they may get exposed to some of it, and then it's the parents' job to really communicate about what that means for them and how they're reacting to it.
I don't know if she's been taking them every single day. We know that she did at least take them one day. Is there anything you could say or anybody could say to the kids to try to undo any potential harm that might have been caused?
Well, I mean, I think first it's assessing whether or not there was any harm.
Okay.
Which would be...
Maybe there wasn't.
Right, and maybe there wasn't for these particular individuals. As a general rule, I would recommend to parents not to expose their children to this type of information because it is very overwhelming for many of them. They don't have an emotional connection to the event, but the information itself is very disconcerting and very overwhelming for young children who don't understand and may ask the question, could this then happen to me?
It almost seems like it's a daunting task to try to keep young kids away from violence. Now there's the internet, there's the video games. I mean, you know, you almost have to lock them up in the room without, I mean, what do you do?
Right. I mean, I think as parents, you try to protect your children and shield your children as much as possible. And that means being a good supervisor. That means monitoring their activities, knowing what they're looking at in the internet, knowing what video games. There's a lot of very violent video games out there. Knowing how to really be monitoring what is going on with your kids is very critical. So for the most part, you really want to provide the best supervision that you can.
Dr. Laura Saunders, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it from Hartford Hospital.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.